things are quieting down, so why don't we get things started. We'll actually put the prices and we'll close the auction after the break, so you can look things over one more time if anybody's interested. Welcome everybody. We've got a couple of new faces, I think. Where'd he go? There we go.
You read about already?
Okay.
And you already joined.
All right. Welcome. Tom, I went down to a show that Tom Rumsey had at Carnegie in Three Rivers. Beautiful stuff. You folks haven't seen much of it, I don't believe, but he's really got some nice pieces. It was a good show. So, congratulations. And let's see here. What else we got on my list of things to talk about?
Jeff, I'm going to say something while you're looking at
Sure.
it. I put all the name tags. I've got a somewhat alphabetical order. Each line has a letter or two letters to it. So if you'll hook them on there when you get done, it'll make it a lot easier to find your names. So if you please put them back on the same wire. The name hangs down, so it's kind of opposite the wrong letter indication. But if you'll hang them on the correct wire, that'll help everybody find them a little quicker. I mentioned it before. My wife and I have a show at Forest Hills. Not to be self-serving, but if anybody's interested in coming, there's a reception at 6 o'clock this Thursday. The show's there for a month, but it's basically just 9 to 5 weekdays. So anybody who would like to come is welcome. Ron, you want to give us just a little update on what happened at AAW and then the retreat? Here you go, Mike.
As most of you know, the AAW took place this year in Atlanta. One of the larger crowds I had, somewhere around 1,500 people, 300 or 400 attendees off the street. The vendor area was packed. The response seemed huge this year, and I don't know why. It was a hub. I flew round trip for $200. The rooms were $129, okay? And I think that helped. As far as the AAW went, it was a lot of fun this year. I did wear a kilt. I know some of you saw that. Yeah, a skirt. And my daughter called it a skirt because it wasn't plaid. But I had a lot of fun. There's a lot going on and a lot of changes in the AAW. They also approached me. Those of you who are attending the hands-on retreat are probably going to get offered a discount on membership to the AAW. It's never happened before, but they're trying to promote and re-promote the AAW and its memberships and its benefits. So I'm waiting for that letter to come through too. That's about it.
Good.
And it was a great show, and Kansas City will be a pretty big show. Portland will be gigantic. So the hands-on retreat, I still have room. I still have a room in Johannes' class. I do have a hat here that he made. We won't pass this around. If it drops, I'm sure it would shatter. He did several demos there in his booth. He blew up a couple. He doesn't know it, but I have them there for the retreat to show them off for him. Because I know we're all going to blow up hats, okay? We're also going to load out today. So any of you that can stay and help us take lathes out, tables out, chairs out, coffee pot out, and tool chest out, we greatly appreciate it. The barn is ready. Pulled the coach out. We're set up and ready to go. Tent goes up Wednesday. Porta-John comes in Wednesday. Food gets fixed Tuesday. So we're ready to play, okay? Any questions on the retreat, see me right after or at break, okay?
Good, thanks, Ron. Some exciting stuff happening. Let's see, did everybody had ordered a light, get one. Pick one up yet?
I'm still looking for Gene, but I
Okay,
don't see him. So.
all right, okay.
There is one extra light that's available, if anybody wants it.
Yep. We needed to order 10 to get a freebie, and so I did. So we've got one extra one we can sell, or we can put it in a raffle, and then we now have the freebie is the light for our demos. So good. Let's see here. We've been invited to participate in Makers Fair. I think it's the middle of August, August 20th.
Third weekend of August.
Third weekend in August. I don't know if many of you remember, but we did it last year. And we had a lathe down there, and people were very, very interested. There's, 3 or 4 or 5,000 people come.
They're expecting more this year because they're changing it off the holiday weekend.
Yeah.
So actually it's the third weekend, so it's actually a full meeting weekend, but yeah, I have not pulled up the forms yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty much like it was last year, to where if we wanted to, we'd be available to sell our product and also demonstrate.
Right.
And we still got people down there working on the big lathe, so they'll probably want that up and running as much as we can get it going. So it's just a matter of if we want to commit. A little bit of work, get the stuff in and out of there, but it was really a good time, and I think it was very well perceived.
Yeah.
Number one comment we heard most last year, we go to art fairs, we see all this stuff, we never see it actually in production. Mm-hmm. And so it was nice having our lathe down there and running it pretty consistently.
Yep. Yeah, it helps people see how we do what we do, and just like with Ray, when you're out in the community, you have a chance of getting somebody else involved in wood turning and enjoying it. So, if anybody's interested, just talk to me or talk to Ken. And
this is something that we're going to have to act on real quick, because it will take some time to put it together. It's going to be Saturday and Sunday, normal museum hours. So I think it's like 9 to 5. And then noon to 5 on Sunday. Yep. So we'd have to have probably a couple, 3 people, if we're selling stuff, a couple, 3 people watching the tables, talking to people there, and then get a lathe down there, get a rotation set up for people to demonstrate and keeping that running. So that's basically what it would involve.
Yep. So, okay.
Where is that?
Grand Rapids Public Museum.
Public Museum. You want to do a quick report on festival?
Sure. Okay, festival. First off, I want to thank everybody who helped out this year, who took part in either selling stuff or just coming down and working the booth. We had another record year. I just this morning looked up the numbers from last year, and we topped it by $300. So we had 14 people participate, sold 175 items. So yeah, it was a very good weekend for us. Other than that, we don't know where this will lead for next year, but we're assuming that things will be the same. So I don't see we had a couple new people who hadn't taken part before. Anybody want to say anything of their experience? Just how it went? Dave?
Well, yeah, I thought it was great. I spent Saturday morning there, and I put several items in. I think I learned a lot about how to price things for next time and display things. First time there and not really understanding it, but overall it was a great show. I think there was a lot of beautiful stuff there, and the comments from the people were fantastic. And nothing negative at all. Everybody just loved the pieces and really enjoyed viewing our stuff. And I think it's evident by the amount of things we sold and the money that was raised there for individuals, of course. And of course the festival as well. Yeah. They get their percentage. But it was a really nice experience. I enjoyed it.
Great. Thanks. I do have the checks with me, so see me before you go, and we'll get you your checks. Thank you.
One other thing that came up was there's an outside possibility, this isn't for public information, but outside public possibility that we could end up with maybe a double booth, same sort of 10 by 20 size at Reed's Lake Art Fair next year. I don't know if you all know, but Reed's Lake is today. I'm sure most of you folks have been there before, but stop over and take a look. I participated there 4 or 5 years ago. Sold quite a few things.
Doug is there today.
Not a lot. Pardon?
Doug is there today.
Is he? Okay. Yep. Those kinds of events are really, I think, a lot of fun because you get an opportunity to, chat with other members of the club, talk with the public, the art community, the craft community, and it's just a great opportunity too. And normally I think it's just a one day. Isn't Reed's?
Reed's Lake is just one day.
So we'll see how that goes, and we'll report when and if we get the okay, because historically they've never had allowed anything other than an individual to have a tent and sell at Reed's Lake. So, and they have thousands of people.
What does a booth cost there?
Last I knew it was $175, I think.
Somewhere in there.
Something in that neighborhood. And the club would, I think the club would.
We'd have to work that out. And I think what I would ask to do is put together a small committee of people to pursue some of this type of stuff. Like with Makers Fair coming up, I think there's some things that we're going to have to look at to be able to sell. I mean, Festival's been a great venue for us because Festival handles all the money.
Yeah.
And so, we don't have to worry about any of that type of stuff. We just got to be there to, talk up our product and write up some sales slips. So, if this turns into something, I think there's some things that we're going to have to do to kind of restructure how we do it. But very doable, very doable.
Yeah.
Great opportunities for some people.
Yeah, Makers Fair would, at this point in time, we'll have to see what we do. You could either handle those sales on an individual basis, and which would mean you'd have to be there, just like if you entered an art show.
Well, we did Makers Fair last year as a group. We collected money for anybody and everybody as a group. Our biggest hurdle for Makers Fair last year was accepting credit cards. So we kind of started out with no credit cards and then kind of reneged on that. A member stepped forward and said, you can use my account, we'll collect it. And then just at the end of the weekend, he wrote a check back to the guild, less whatever the percentage was that his card took, or his carrier or whatever. So there's a few things that we can look at that if we're going to pursue it, we probably will need to.
Yep. Well, as you all know, it's not easy to sell a lot of these things. A few, Ron seems to have pretty good success. A couple of others have some success selling their pieces. But there's always a commission that a gallery takes or something, and so I'm sure you're all sitting with several boxes or shelves full of things that you've made, that many of which you'd be happy to sell. So this is all part of the effort that the leadership continues to try to do to make it a little easier for you folks to sell some of your things and increase the visibility of woodturning in the West Michigan community. So that's that. Let's see. One other thing that I talked about was the idea of is anybody interested? Do you think that it's a good idea to have some kind of a little synopsis of each one of the meetings? And I'm looking for if people think that would be good to have on our website, And in the newsletter, when you can't make a meeting, you at least be able to see some of the photographs of the show and tell and the club challenge, if it's a club challenge month, that sort of a thing. But we would need someone to take responsibility to just jot down a few notes of sort of what happened in the meeting. I certainly share all my notes with people so you get a sense of how things flowed. And then just, a few photographs. Tom Sampson has been kind of running around taking photographs since he publishes the newsletter. He's not here today, so you don't have somebody. So if anybody thinks that's a good idea and would like to take that on, once again, probably best off if we could get 2 people, so that if you're not here, you've got somebody who can back up, the photography and taking a few notes, and then just a simple little write-up, within about 2 weeks to get into the newsletter. So, talk to me if you're interested, if you think it's a good idea. If not, some of the stuff sticks to the wall, some of the stuff doesn't. So it's just an idea. Anybody else have any questions? Anything you want to get on the floor for talk or for discussion? If not, yeah.
That wood out there, that guy was wanting to sell some of that wood.
Oh, Jason. Yep.
Oh, I don't know if everybody knows about that.
Yeah, he's got some burls from time to time that he would like to sell. And he approached me last week or last month. Talked with him about it. I don't know. He was thinking he was going to, pick up several $100s for burls, and I said, yeah, not from this group. Yeah, maybe in Minneapolis or someplace someplace else. But anyhow, he's around. His shop is through the second door and to the left. If you want to talk to him. Yes?
Put some cards out there on the burl.
Okay.
So if you want his name and number, they're out there.
Right, yeah. So, I told him, depending on how large the burl is, $100, $150, would be,
A stretch.
a stretch, because for the most part, a burl, I've cut into good burls and I've cut into crap. You spend $100 and you've got a bunch of crap, and you can't go back and say, well, this wasn't any good. Give me my money back. Doesn't work that way. So it's always a sort of a surprise package kind of a thing. Unless you're dealing with a reputable company like Cook Woods or some of the other places where they take the responsibility of cutting it open, making sure it's good, and then you pay some really big prices for burled wood. But anyhow, another possibility for us. So, anybody else? Any other things? We'll have
Do the show and tell and the challenge,
want to do that now?
and then
Can do it?
during the break, people can
All right.
vote on the challenge.
Okay, that's a good idea. Okay. These are the obviously the smaller pieces are the club challenge, and what we're going to do is you can mark on just put a little tick mark if you think that's the best piece.
Everybody here gets one vote.
Everybody gets a vote, and we'll give a $50 first prize, and then and everybody who brought a piece in, then we'll get a ticket, and we'll raffle off a ticket for some craft supply gift certificates. So
I have two craft supply gift certificates for second place, and then the other two craft supply gift certificates, anybody who enters will get a ticket, and we'll just raffle them off. So everybody who actually brought back a piece has a chance of winning something.
Okay. Great. Well, since Johan isn't here, you're welcome to come up and look. Really, really cute. I think these are usually cut out of the leftover center of the larger hats that actually fit people. So we'll start with this one. There's a speaker or a microphone.
Turn this around?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Otherwise you want me to fix it. All right. Go ahead.
You guys agree?
Okay. This piece of wood again came from John Anthony over here. And what I tried to do is to really show off what I think is just outstanding looking wood. So I didn't want to make a small segment, so I did this in as large a piece as I could, so you can get an idea of what this wood looks like. And of course, Purple Heart, and I really decided this time not to make any compromises. Usually, the bowls are never really quite perfect, and I just kind of overlook it. But this time I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it right. It doesn't matter how long it takes me. What I really want to do is do my best effort in making a bowl, and I'm rather pleased with the way it turned out. Thank you.
Select another one here.
Stand over here.
Well, let's see, backwards, all the crowd's up there.
All right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this here is a piece of spalted oak. And, you know, basically firewood, right? I mean, it wasn't in the fire pit. But I got a tip from George. This stuff here is spalted stuff, but just almost a little beyond spalted, right? So what I did is I took Elmer's glue, the white glue, because it dries clear, and I thinned it. And then before I put it on, I dampened this a little bit so it would distort, but then I just saturated it with the Elmer's white glue, right? So that kind of toughened it up a little bit, so then it was easier to deal with. So, and then basically I just, I got it finished with Watco Danish oil, steel wool, buffed it with quad zero steel wool. And then I got this.
When did you put the Elmer's on it before you started sanding?
Oh yeah, well, right after I turned it, right after I turned it, I put the Elmer's on it. I dampened it, and then I thinned the Elmer's with a little bit of water, and it just keeps saturating. Now, you know, I just poured it on there and rubbed it with my fingers on both sides. This little knob right there, I did put a little CA glue on it, but I didn't know if the Elmer's would be tough enough to hold it. But so it held it up pretty good. I was going to pick it up there. So I thought it was nice. I got some sparkle in there because I had some sparkle on something else. I don't want sparkle in there. But anyway, this here was the spalted crotch. It wasn't symmetrical, okay? So what I did is but I like it. It's lopsided, but I really like it, right? Even though it wasn't symmetrical, it would come out pretty good. And I did the same thing here a little bit with the Elmer's treatment. And it kind of toughened it up a little bit. One more. This here is wild cherry. It was a half of a wild cherry. This was the inside, and you can see that I got it perfect. I mean, I spent a lot of time measuring so I would get the grain in there, and then I turned it. And then, you know, when you do that, you end up with a little pile of wood there, right? You know, because you're working this way. So I think I ought to make a little dish or something in there. And that adds a little extra challenge. And then I put it up on a pedestal. And what I did is I bought a frugal lathe. I got a frugal vacuum chuck, right? And it worked perfect. I sucked it in there, and then I could sand the bottom. Because it was pretty hard to sand all that, right? So I was able to sand the bottom. And then inside here I drilled that, because it was still damp, I just drilled that, and then I put a little flocking in there to kind of, because I didn't sand right in there, so anyway, that's what I got there. So that's it. All set on that.
This is catalpa. I've never used it before, and I just found the grain fascinating. So was pleased with the way it turned out, and there it is.
Good. Nice. Kind of got balance in the bottom.
Yeah, very easy to turn, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Nice job.
Hold it up so I can show it too, here.
Thanks. This was an experiment. I have a friend of mine that does a lot of woodworking, and he was working with random, if you go online, there's a guy in Russia that puts out, has a website. He does random tabletops and, what do you call it, cutting boards. Well, this friend of mine made one out of made a tabletop that's about 32, 34 inches round. And when he cut the corners, he had some left over, and he gave me some to see what I could do with. So this is made of 6 different kinds of wood, all end grain. The turning is. It has English oak, Lignum vitae. Is that how you say that?
Lignum.
Thank you, that's the one. Pear, hard white maple, elm, and mahogany, not mahogany, but walnut. And I was really, I was kind of interested to see how it turned, other than having to sharpen your equipment with some degree of regularity. It was really, it came out, I think, very nice. And you'll never duplicate the pattern. Every piece you turn will be a one of a kind, because you'll never duplicate the pattern. One of the things I learned with this is there's one spot on here where when he's gluing these things up, they have to be glued just precisely. If you don't glue them up precisely, at some point you'll have a glue joint that's open in them. And I found one glue joint in the back that I thought about filling, but I thought, you know, it's an experimental piece. It's the first time. So this is a little platter that I made, and yeah, I was really thrilled with it. So that's it.
Yeah. How are you managing the glue-ups on that?
I'm sorry?
How are you managing the glue-ups and fitting your pieces together?
Well, you're actually gluing up pieces that are probably 1.5 to 2 inches, and they're glued laterally like this, and you vary the colors and the woods, and then you run them through. First you glue them up, then you turn it, and you run them through this way. All right. Then
You're cutting them?
you cut them, right? You cut them through the saw, you run them through that way. Then what you do is you take that and you rotate them. Every other one you flip like this. Then you glue that up, cut it again, do the same thing, do that 6 times. And then you come out, and that's how you get kind of a real small piece of maybe the pear in the corner or the maple. It's amazing to me that when I was worried that when I was doing the edges they might come apart because they're so small, but they don't.
And you didn't have any problem with the difference in the hardness of the wood?
No, I thought that might be a problem when I was sanding them, but it wasn't. No, I was happy with the finish. You know, there's always something I can do a little bit better, but worked out well.
What kind of glue did you use? Do you know?
Yeah, what do you call it? The regular Tybon 3.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's take a break. I know in one of my emails or the newsletter or something I said that I would offer a day of mentoring, and that's not on there, so I'll put a little piece or a little note out there. Anybody
Go
interested?
through the challenge stuff too, if anybody wants to.
Yep, we can do that.
Yeah, might as well have a talk about it.
Start with the guy in the back. I will say it's got a really nice finish, well sanded, nice little piece.
Well, I always say I'm a good sander, not necessarily a good turner. Kind of a simple rubber. It's just a, plain old chalice. Got water red dye on it, and my own's finish and some Renaissance wax.
Excellent.
Well, I made one last month, and I got it in the bag, but I didn't bring two. This one, I cut this in 4 pieces, sliced up that block they gave us, and then I put 2 of them together. They're book matched together, and put this thing on the lathe, turned it around, and I cut a groove in it. And I put the brass powder in there with CA glue, and it didn't turn out as good as I liked, but I left it the way it was. Anyway, got that done, got it round. Then I set it up. I have a chuck that has an index wheel on it that'll do 5 or 10 holes. So I did the 5, put 5 in. You got to lay this out first so that you make sure you got enough clearance. The right diameter rings and the right diameter of the rings. And after I put the holes in there, then I turn the front with an 1/8 inch cutter. Go in there and cut it with an 1/8 inch. Then this is something I did differently. Normally I just put the holes in there, but this one I drilled smaller holes, tap drill holes, and I threaded a 1/4 And so I have a plate. I have a face plate with a screw sticking out. So I screwed this on the face plate in each of these 5 holes, and I had a nut on there, and I turned the first 2 rings, and then I went ahead and took the nut off, and I turned the last one, hoping the threads would hold in the front part that's halfway cut away, and it did. And somebody on Lumberjacks wanted to see this thing, so I put it back on the lathe after it's all done, screwed it back on and spun it and it stayed together. So evidently the threads held pretty good. And this is just the other part of that wood block we got. I put this, cut this, put 2 blocks in the mill, and I took a fly cutter with the right diameter to match this, and I made pieces, and it fits in there like that. So, and it's finished with the initial out.
Hans Weissflag.
Hans.
Nice. A wee salt shaker.
I took this little block, I didn't have much time to fuss with things, and I looked at it and I'd seen a project by Kurt Hertog a long time ago on a saltern. So these are fake in the front, but there's a hole in the bottom and it's an inverted cup inside, so it shakes that way. I'd seen a demo on it once and I'd never done it, and I thought, oh, that's a nice little piece of wood. Huh?
On the salt stand or the funnel inside?
It's a funnel. It's an inverted funnel.
Oh,
cone.
okay, yeah. I'll have to look at that later. I like it.
Well, I think I was the last person to get a block, and it was really small. So I thought, well, I'll make a pendant. So I made the pendant, and then I had a little left over. So
Wasn't very small.
So I made earrings to go with the pendant, and then there was still a little bit of block left. So I made a box that holds the earrings.
Okay.
No, I don't have to follow that one.
I can't do stuff.
I don't know what you call it, a little candle holder. Toughest part is turning the candle. You don't have to cut your tool very often. Anyway, then it's finished with poly.
Very good. We have a
Oh, acorns. Like cans. That's nice. What a knot, yeah. What a
When you
knot.
get into these little projects, I think half the challenge is just how do you hold on to the stupid things.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, Wasn't quite sure what to do with this, I just made a full pop box out of it. Salad out, and then to get a little contrast, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I actually took a torch to the top, just to give it some inconsistent color, and then finished it up with a wood burner. So, then I figured, well, I needed something to sit on, so we just took the rest of the piece and painted a little base black so it doesn't clash, and that's what we ended up with.
Very nice. And then the last one, I believe, is...
What's that? Flame call or something?
This is a white-tailed deer call. I made one just on a whim last year for a neighbor of mine who's a big avid hunter, and he turned right around and bought 5 of them off. And it is, it's adjustable for deer. It has there's some little O-rings in here, so it's a 2-piece. And a reed that's adjustable to go from a deep grunt that a buck would make, and you can adjust it down. You can slide this O-ring down, and it gets a higher pitch for like a bleat for a fawn or something, or a doe.
Can you demonstrate it?
Can I demonstrate it? I don't, I'm not a deer hunter, but I can blow on it. I'll show you what it's like. I guess that's how we do it. Pardon me?
I'd go running the other way.
So, anyway, that's what
That ain't perfect on it.
Okay. All right, let's take 10 minutes or so. I think we now have coffee. I think there's some rolls out there.
Everybody vote on the
Club challenge.
It's gonna be hard to do.